The SCP Foundation, a fictional organization dedicated to the containment and study of anomalous objects, entities, and phenomena. It's a really fun and interesting creative writing project basically anyone can contribute to. Each anomalous item is designated a number. As of the time of this video's existence, there are, to my understanding, almost or possibly even over 7,000 SCPs. I'm no expert, obviously. I understand quite a bit, but couldn't claim to be your ultimate guide into the world of SCP. What I can claim to be, however, is a fan of the more twisted and fucked up concepts the Foundation contains. Things that make you paranoid. Things that make you think too deeply. And things you wish you had never heard of in the first place. This is your warning. The concepts I present in this video may be disturbing. With that said, I will now be talking about a variety of SCPs. Instead of reading the entire documents, I'll summarize them, as reading the entire document would literally turn this video into a 3-hour-long affair. I learned my lesson with the San Andreas Missing Legends video. Before we start, I'd like to quickly explain the basic SCP classes. Safe means an object is easy to contain and can't really escape containment. Euclid means an object isn't as easy to contain and could be unpredictable. This typically applies to sapient entities. Keter means an object is very difficult to contain and could very easily escape containment. Thaumiel means the object is the containment, typically assisting in the containment of another SCP. Neutralized means the object is no longer anomalous or active. Apollyon means you just cannot contain the object. This is often associated with objects that are exceedingly dangerous and could cause the end of the world. An Archon means you could theoretically contain the object, but doing so may not be what's best. Finally, I'd like to just clarify that SCP doesn't always mean horror. While it's commonly associated with creepypasta, the various SCP objects do not always have to be scary, disturbing, or threatening to humanity. Anyways, now that that stuff is out of the way, let's dive into the fucked up world of the SCP Foundation and take a look at its more disturbing side. Item number SCP-2086. Object Class Keter. SCP-2086 are winged arthropods that resemble public transport vehicles. Though they only live for a maximum of 2 weeks, SCP-2086 instances do quite a lot in their short lives. The adults will essentially pretend to be public transportation, picking up passengers along a route. Once a significant enough number of passengers have boarded on an SCP-2086 instance, said instance will incapacitate said passengers by releasing a substance similar to chloroform. From there, it brings them back to its nest, where juvenile instances will retrieve and feed off of a passenger's blood, before using its preserved corpse to mimic a driver. This SCP is the type of shit that makes me not want to ride a public bus. As if the germs and unhinged nature of the passengers wasn't already dissuading enough. The idea of an organism adapting to humanity in such a way as to hunt us down for prey without us even realizing it is quite fucking unsettling to me. Even if the idea of a flying bus bug is funny at first, the way it uses a corpse after draining it is, gross. The fact that it can make a corpse so convincingly alive when it very much is not, to the point of people not being able to notice, is just plain fucked up. Item number SCP-149. Object Class Keter. SCP-149 is possibly one of the worst fucking things I have ever heard. In a good way. This one, in a literal sense, gets under your skin. SCP-149 is a breed of mosquito that, instead of merely feeding off your blood, also infects you with what is essentially a 100% fatal retrovirus. The effects are gross as fuck, but that's why you're here, right? Once infected, all regenerating cells within the host's body become fertilized mosquito eggs. The esophagus and sinuses are typically filled with a large concentration of these cyst-like clusters of mosquito larvae, which will mature within a matter of hours, departing from the host via the mouth, nose, and even eye socket. Thankfully for us, though, a bite from SCP-149 only has a 50% chance of infection. This really, makes you a bit more paranoid about mosquito bites now, doesn't it? Like, sure, it may itch, but so will your insides when mature mosquitoes are pressing up against your eyes as they attempt to escape. Thanks. I hate it. Item number SCP-871. Object Class: Keter. Man, these first few choices really don't hold back on their object classes, do they? Keter, Keter, Keter. SCP-871 is, at first, not so scary or disturbing, but very quickly it becomes obvious why you should be very afraid of it. SCP-871 is cake. More specifically, at this point, a collection of differing cakes. If an instance of SCP-871 is eaten, it will be replaced within 24 hours with a new random cake. If an instance of SCP-871 isn't eaten, however, after 24 hours, a new instance of SCP-871 will appear instead. Do you see where this is going, and why this is so bad? All it takes is one slip-up, and now there are 2 cakes. Another slip-up, and now there are 4 cakes. Another slip-up, and now there are 8 cakes. Eventually, you might find yourself unable to eat all this cake in one day. What will you do then? Give it away? Well, now you have an unchecked instance that's very easily able to be thrown out or disregarded, allowed to multiply endlessly without anyone to stop it. You'll eventually be so sick of cake, but you can never stop eating it, or else you risk making it worse for yourself and everyone else. The article estimates that the Earth would be rendered uninhabitable if SCP-871 is even just a single instance left uncontrolled for a mere 80 days. Did I mention that you can't destroy this cake or else it just reappears, and you can't feed it to animals or else it just reappears? Fucked up how scary a single cake can be. Item number SCP-478. Object Class: Euclid. Finally, a non-Keter object. Surely that means it's not as bad, right? Haha. SCP-478 resembles darkly colored moths and butterflies in flight. They typically prey on humans under the age of 25, flying into their mouths as they sleep. If you're a victim of SCP-478, you'll likely wake up thinking you have a cold and you'll probably find a nostril clogged. Over the course of the next week, you'll begin to develop more teeth. Teeth in your mouth. Teeth in your throat. Teeth in your stomach. Until pretty much your entire interior is lined with teeth, including under your skin. Then, once this is complete, SCP-478 will flee your body. Not only do you have a bunch of teeth inside of you now, but those teeth are very much exposed to your stomach acid. Once this is over with, you're almost beyond being salvaged, the pain being unbearable. All because you slept with your mouth open. Ugh. Item number SCP-198. Object Class: Euclid. SCP-198 is honestly one of the most disgusting and disturbing SCPs for me, even if it's nowhere near as horrifying as a mosquito that turns you into a living mosquito factory. SCP-198 is a beverage container, its appearance changing upon remanifestation. It could be a cup, a bottle, a can, and it usually contains the expected amount of liquid for what that container would be currently holding. It doesn't show any unusual behaviors until a human picks it up. Upon being picked up, the cup will bond with the holder's hand, unable to be removed by any means. Attempts to remove SCP-198 via cutting of the fingers or the hand itself fail, as any damage below the wrist will heal instantly. Upon bonding, any liquid already in SCP-198 will vanish, and it'll begin to rapidly fill with a randomly chosen bodily fluid or human excretion. This includes saliva, sweat, blood, bile, mucus, urine, feces, and something that was expunged from the document. SCP-198 could also fill with a combination of these things. From here on, the victim will begin to rapidly dehydrate and starve, unable to be sustained by normal food and drink. Can you guess what does sustain them, though? Yeah, enjoy your piss cup. 70 hours is the record for the longest survivor before they inevitably gave in to exhaustion or simply refused to keep drinking. Upon the death of the victim, SCP-198 will proceed to remanifest elsewhere in 75% of cases. And now, we'll end this video off with item number SCP-439. Object class Euclid. SCP-439 is downright disturbing with no way around it. SCP-439 is an insect resembling a gray, semi-translucent earwig. It's entirely non-anomalous when encountered normally, only being able to give you a painful yet harmless pinch. However, if it encounters a suitable host, it will hide within the vicinity of them and wait for them to fall asleep. It will only choose humans for its hosts. It will enter the sleeping victim and take residence in the lungs. From here, the victim will begin to experience rapid, painful bone growth. The victim will begin to gain the urge to hide in a dark, closed-off space, and within 3 days, become completely immobile due to pain. The victim will assume a fetal position, where the process of becoming a nest for SCP-439 will conclude. SCP-439 will proceed to produce 20 to 30,000 offspring, now designated the Queen. The Queen is luckily the only one capable of reproduction, leaving the rest of the SCP-439 instances safe, minus for their expected retaliation methods. The victim's body is now almost unrecognizable. After 4 to 6 months, a new queen is chosen and will mate, before the entire hive typically self-terminates. And those who survive aren't fit for survival outside of the hive, typically resulting in their death. The new queen then will go and search for a new host. If you thought all of this was bad, just wait until I tell you that even after the colony disbands and dies, the host isn't dead. They typically die of starvation instead. When tested, it was shown that a victim's eyes still reacted and followed the light of a flashlight. Man, these SCPs really don't let you sleep in peace. Well, that was fucked up. I hope you enjoyed this look into the more disturbing side of SCP objects, because I genuinely enjoyed looking at and reminding myself of these disturbing motherfuckers, even if I come out even just a little bit uncomfortable. I noticed a lot of these related to insects, which is funny because, in real life, insects can be just as fucked up and evil sometimes. Looking at you, wasps. Sometimes I'll start writing a script and find it difficult to enjoy the topic all the way through, but luckily, this wasn't one of those videos. I had been working on another video prior to this one, but it didn't work out for me personally. Good thing this one came out okay. Well, until next time, have a preferably non-anomalous, non-parasitic fungus. It will encounter the sleeping victim and take residence. It will encounter. What the fuck? It will enter the sleeping victim